Hello friends, my name is Alex and welcome back to my booktube channel. I cannot wait for today's video because I am going to be sharing with you guys my top 5 very favorite YA fantasy series of all time, the best YA fantasy series I have ever read. I cannot wait to get into these and tell you all about them. Are just going to be the absolute elite YA fantasy series that I adore, that I love, that I highly recommend you read if you have not already. Now, obviously, there are going to be some stipulations on this because I'm still reading YA fantasy, so this could change in the future as I read more series, as series that I'm currently reading complete, because I'm only talking about series that are complete and that I have read all of the books from the series, so that's something you should know here. Ongoing series are not going to be included in this video. I will probably do this video again sometime down the road in the future, do an update if anything has changed. I am also going to only be talking about series. I do plan to do another video like this one, talking about my favorite YA fantasy standalone books. So if you're not looking to dive into a new series, keep an eye out for that video. I'm really excited for that as well. So before we get started with these 5 series that I'm going to talk to you guys about, let me know in the comments down below what your favorite YA fantasy series is. I'm always looking for new recommendations and I want to know what some of your favorites are. I will definitely want to check them out if they're not ones that I've already read. Okay, now these are not in any particular order because just narrowing it down to 5 series was hard enough. I could not put myself through trying to order these like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're not in any order. I love all of these series and I'm really looking forward to telling you about them and telling you why I love them so much and why you should pick them up and read them like right now. The very first one that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is a duology that I absolutely adore. I read it last year and just think it is one of the best stories I have ever read, and that is the Raybearer duology by Jordan Afueko. This duology is beautiful. The fantasy world is so lush and vibrant, the writing is spectacular, and the characters are just the most tender. I love them so much. So the Raybearer duology follows our main character, Tari Sai, who is a young woman who has been raised in basically complete isolation, and all she wants is to be loved and to belong. She has this absent mother who's not around all that much, who she desperately wants to be accepted and loved by, but she doesn't really know her very well, and she's known as the Lady. Well, one day, the Lady gives her the opportunity to get everything that she has ever wanted when she sends Tari Sai off to the palace in this kingdom to become a candidate to become one of the crown prince's members of his council. So there's this competition, kind of trials that they go through to join the council of 11. And if they are chosen to be on the council, they are connected by this really deep magical psychic bond called the Ray. This is really all she's ever wanted, is to have a family, to have people that she feels like she belongs to. So this seems like a great thing that she's being sent off to join this. However, the catch is that the Lady has put a magical compulsion on Tari Sai so that once she gets close to the crown prince, she's gonna have to kill him. This is a story of found family, of betrayal, and it has a super unique magic system, which is really fun to explore as you dive deeper into this series. There's also a lot of political intrigue going on. It's very complex, but very well developed and pretty easy to follow once you get into it. I just think the writing is immaculate. It's extremely well done. The world building is perfect and beautiful. I enjoyed this story so much. We also have an extremely diverse cast of characters, not only in their sexuality, but also in their neurodiversity. So that is really fun to see all the different types of representation that are in this story. And I think it's really well done from, my perspective of what I know and am aware of. I think it's very well done. I think Jordan Afueko has created a really beautiful story that everyone can find a bit of themselves in. And that's something that I loved about this series so much, is that I felt very connected to our main character, Tari Sai, and that just made me fall even more in love with this story. But because we have such a wide cast of diverse characters, I think that there's someone in here that everyone could connect to, and I think that's really special and really well done. I adored this duology. It's only 2 books, so it's not a massive commitment, and I think that you should pick this up. If literally anything that I talk about sounds interesting to you, this story is so beautifully written. Jordan Ifueko definitely has my attention. Anything she writes in the future, I will definitely be picking up. The next series that I want to talk to you guys about is one that has recently been completed. It is a trilogy, and it is called The Scholomance by Naomi Novik. This is the first book, A Deadly Education. This series is so much fun. If you love a magical school setting, this one. So in this series, we have a contemporary fantasy world set in our world, but it is plagued by these magical monsters called Maleficaria that happen to feed on young magical children. So in order to protect the children, this school was developed that is set in the void out in the middle of who knows what. And this school is supposed to protect the children and keep them safe from being eaten by Maleficaria until they are old enough to kind of fend for themselves. However, the school is not infallible and has also become infected with Maleficaria, but they continue to send the children here because it's safer than them being in the real world. So we've got this magical school full of all of these children and monsters, and the kids are just trying to survive. They never get to leave until they graduate. They never get to see any adults. It is just the children. The school is kind of a character in and of itself. It kind of teaches them and assigns them their classes and tries to protect them, but because it's full of these monsters, they are fighting for survival. They can't really have any friends. Some of them have allies, but you really gotta be every man for yourself to get out of this school alive and make it to graduation and back home to your family. Now, our story follows a young woman named Elle, who is very much a loner in this school. She has a huge secret, and that is that she has these immense, dark, magical powers that have the ability to wipe out all of the Maleficaria in the entire school. However, they would also wipe out all of the other students. She is just trying to do her best not to destroy the world, but it kind of seems like the school wants her to. Then we have another main character, Orion Lake, who is Elle's complete foil. This guy has the power to battle all these mals and save all the students. He spends all of his time kind of protecting everybody else and has become kind of a hero of sorts within the school. And throughout the story, these two become very unlikely allies. They develop a little bit of a found family and start to uncover some secrets of the school in an attempt to save themselves and everyone else from this mounting danger as the mal problem seems to get worse and worse and worse within the school. Now, I absolutely adored our narrator, Elle, and kind of having the story told from the perspective of a little bit of an unlikable narrator. She's very prickly. She's obviously got these crazy dark powers, but I still found myself really enjoying her and having a lot of sympathy for her. This is told in a very much stream of consciousness writing style, so if those things are not interesting to you, I know this book is not for everyone. I know it has kind of mixed reviews, but for me, it worked so well. I really enjoyed kind of being inside her mind throughout this story, and I just really enjoyed all of our different characters, the way that they come together, and just kind of the mystery elements that are happening throughout this. It is such a fun time, and I definitely highly recommend this, especially if you're interested in a magical boarding school setting, and if you like a story where the setting almost becomes a character in and of itself, because we definitely have that with the school in this one. If you are a fan of audiobooks, I do recommend the audiobook for this one. That is how I read these, and I really, really enjoyed the narrator. I felt like the stream of consciousness type of writing style lent really well to the audiobook format. I would definitely classify this one though as more of an upper YA, mostly because of the third book. We start to get into some more adult content, so definitely check on some of those triggers if you are concerned about any of that. But this story is so much fun, and I highly, highly recommend the Scholomance trilogy. The next series that I want to talk to you guys about is the Ember Quartet by Sabaa Tahir, beginning with An Ember in the Ashes. This is a 4-book series set in an ancient Rome-inspired fantasy world. We follow a young woman named Laia who has lost everything and everyone she loves to the tyrannical empire. So she's desperate to find her brother and ends up allying herself with the rebels and agreeing to be a spy for them inside of the very dangerous military academy, where she is going to pose as a slave to the brutal leader of the academy known as the commandant. Once inside, Laia crosses paths with a boy named Elias, who is the school's top soldier and also happens to be the commandant's son. However, Elias has a secret. He wants to escape this brutal and bloody future that is before him. He does not want to become a soldier when he graduates the academy. So when the emperor dies and the world is thrown into turmoil, a mysterious prophecy arises that draws Elias and his friends into a series of deadly trials with very, very high stakes. Against the backdrop of political unrest and a resurgence of magic in the world, Laia and Elias form an unlikely alliance that ends up having the power to determine the entire fate of the empire. So this first book kind of has those trials elements and takes place in the school, and then the series goes on from there. It is a sweeping fantasy world. We have a lot of adventure. We have some found family-ish elements, some enemies to lovers-ish elements, love triangles. We've got a lot of the great tropes. This is definitely a darker YA fantasy, so keep that in mind if you are interested in going into it. It is brutal, it is bloody, there is a lot of war going on here, but we have really, really complex characters, which I think are so well written and developed. And we have a really, really widespread and well-developed world with an interesting magic system, some magical spirits and creatures that we meet along the way, some hidden powers. There is so much to discover throughout these 4 books. I keep recommending this series over and over and over again, and I'm not gonna stop. This series is so good. If you have not picked it up, you definitely should. Now, this next series that I'm gonna talk to you guys about is the only one that I'm talking about that I read back in high school. And I recently reread it and it still holds up. I still love it so much. That series is The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. This is the second published Shadowhunters series. However, the first chronological Shadowhunters series, we follow the London Institute Shadowhunters in the 1870s. So we've got some historical fantasy going on in this one, which I really enjoy. In this series, we follow Tessa Gray, who has just arrived in London. She is coming from America to live with her brother after her guardian has passed away. However, when she arrives, she's immediately kidnapped and forced to learn to use these hidden magical abilities that she didn't even know she had. When she is accidentally rescued by a group of Shadowhunters and taken back to the London Institute, she is introduced to a paranormal world where there are vampires, werewolves, warlocks, fae, all sorts of these magical paranormal creatures, as well as Shadowhunters who have angel blood and defend the world from demons. Now, along with her new friends, Will and Jem, Tessa discovers that there is an army of mechanical creatures being made to take over the world that she and her friends have to work together to try to stop. All the while, she is trying to discover her own identity and where her hidden abilities have come from. This series holds such a special place in my heart. I really enjoy the Shadowhunters universe. However, of the books that I have read within that universe, this series is absolutely my favorite. It is absolutely the best one. I love our characters. I love the way that Cassandra Clare writes friendships and found family. I think she does such a beautiful job, and the friendship between Will and Jem in this series just absolutely destroys me. Have your tissues ready for the 3rd book because, oh my gosh, this will get your heart. If you hate love triangles, be warned. This is the love triangle to end all love triangles in this series. It will absolutely wreck you, but in the best, most painful way? I don't know. You guys, it is so good. I absolutely adore this series. Like I said, I just recently reread it and it holds up. 10 years later, it is still top tier. It is still elite YA fantasy. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Okay, friends, we have one more series to talk about. Please do not let the cover fool you. I promise you, this series is so much better than its covers. And that is The Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson. This is the first book, The Kiss of Deception. This is a YA fantasy trilogy set in a semi-post-apocalyptic world where we follow three major kingdoms, two of which are about to form an alliance through an arranged marriage of our main character, Leah, who is being married off to the crown prince of a neighboring kingdom that she has never met. So on the morning of her wedding, she decides to make a run for it. Her and her lady's maid escape and go to this small town where they decide to start over and make an entirely new life for themselves. As they are settling in there, two strange men show up. And unbeknownst to Leah, these men are an assassin sent from the third brutal barbarian kingdom to kill her and stop this alliance from being formed, and the man she left at the altar. So this first book kind of follows that hidden identity, betrayal, secrets going on. There's obviously romance. From the first book, the series becomes so much larger. There is a lot of political intrigue at play here. We are learning about the three different kingdoms, why they're at war, different prejudices they have against each other, the different people groups. It is so well written. And we have kind of some magic at play. Leah is supposed to have magic that she's actually unable to access, and she thinks that her parents are just lying to everyone pretending that she has magic. So you have to read it to see if she uncovers magical powers or not. And on her adventures, she's able to experience different people groups and different ways of life that she never would have been able to experience from her life in the palace. And she may end up having the power to change the course of the future for these three kingdoms. So we are kind of following Leah as she, uncovers these betrayals, these lies, and discovers whether or not she really can make a new path for herself and for her entire world. So yes, this is also a little bit of an older series. It definitely has a lot of tropes, but they are so well done. This series has a lot of twists and turns that I really didn't see coming. It really took me by surprise in a lot of ways. I enjoyed our characters so much, our different relationships and romances that we have going on in this story. There is also a spin-off duology that I've not yet read but cannot wait to. That is Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. And I am just such a huge fan of Mary E. Pearson. I think that this trilogy needs all the hype because it is so good. Again, please don't let these covers fool you. This series is incredible. So that is it for this video. Those are my top 5 YA fantasy series that I have read. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you found some good new recommendations from this video. If you think you're gonna pick up any of these series off of my recommendation, please let me know. I would love to chat with you about it, hear what you think. I am so curious, but I highly recommend any of these series. I think they are absolutely fantastic reads and they are all complete. So no waiting around for the next book. These are all complete series that you can pick up and binge, and I hope that you do. So that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you have a wonderful day and I will catch you in my next video. Bye, friends.